Use that much this year?
Haven't had much need of it yet.
Looks like we got ourselves a bad man right here.
Kevin, first of all, I really want to congratulate you on the reception that you got at the Cannes Film Festival. What was that like for you?
That was unexpected. They're always polite, but it moved me to another place. I found myself next to my children. I was quietly emotional. They saw that, and so it was a moment for myself and my family. It reminded me of my journey in this business, and it reminded me that having an audience on my shoulder has always been important. It's guided me, but it hasn't forced me in any decision that I didn't want to make.
Mm-hmm. Now, this film's been 30 years in the making, but along that journey, you've made so many other wonderful Western films, be it Dances with Wolves or Silverado or one of my favorites, Open Range. So during that journey, that trajectory of all of those films, did those films help influence what this film, Horizon, has ultimately become?
Maybe in some degree. I don't think too much, really. I saw them each as the moment that I was doing them, whether it's Hatfield and McCoy's or Wyatt Earp or something like that. It's a story, Listen, there are books in our life, and those books still can be made into movies. So this is an idea, this is a book that's been in my mind for 30 years, and so I just decided I wouldn't let it go. I didn't feel like, I don't fall out of love with things. I feel like classic doesn't have a shelf life.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've loved Western films all your life, haven't you?
Yeah, not very many, because most of them aren't very good. I find them most too simple, and the people are depicted across the board are not authentic.
That looks like a promising place.
A place I might be able to see myself.
You just have to stand at the river, and you can see what the men and the women up there see. That's what drove us across the ocean to this country in the first place. Hope.
What was the first one that comes to mind for you that stuck in your memory?
It was the How the West Was Won.
Mm-hmm. Well, how did that influence you in terms of getting
I was
involved?
stunned at the scenery. It wasn't a location that I had been used to. The costumes were authentic. The people that were meeting each other were authentic. The Native Americans were dressed exotically, beautifully. So I was immediately immersed because I believed every moment I was watching. And pretty soon, if you're in careful hands, you just go with the movie at that point. Mm-hmm. It's not 200 years ago, but you're allowed yourself to go back. Because if you're in careful hands, a story is unfolding in front of you. What's being said makes sense to you.
What is it about this genre that appeals to you? Because, again, you've done so many films in this genre. Is there a certain quality about the expansion to the West, a story about America?
There's just no one to arbitrate your problems. And when you think that, if you walked out on those streets and there was nowhere, there's this chaos that existed out in this giant landscape. It was a terrible clash of cultures, of people coming saying, we can take this if we're strong enough. And there's other people saying, this is where we live. And the drama out there was nobody to referee it. Mm-hmm. And so you can measure yourself. Who do you think you are out there?
What I enjoy about your films, and this one as well, is that there's a realism to the depiction of the West. In this film, there are some instances, not gratuitously, but some violent scenes involving not only the settlers perpetrating it, but Native Americans. So did it give you pause to present this?
My job is to make it look vulgar and mean, and it was vicious, and it was personal. A man elects to blow his family up just simply because he won't want them to feel or to be tortured. There's a heroism in that, and those decisions were made all the time. So there's no political correct in what I'm trying to do. Violence is ugly. And it comes in all forms, and all people are capable of it. The difference is the Native Americans were fighting for their homes and for their neighbors. The other, the people were taking scalps. That was for commerce, and so there's an ugliness to all of it. But there's a higher level of understanding why Native Americans were fighting.
Westerns throughout the past decades have just perpetrated that, a gunfight was a simple shot or getting an arrow, but people didn't die easily in that era, did they?
There's a thing called adrenaline, and sometimes there is what I call a perfect knockout blow. It just happens. But often as not, there's this death struggle, and maybe it's even over a fiddle, something meaningless to one person.
And if I may ask you about one of your other films, it's been 30 years since you completed the Bodyguard with the amazing Whitney Houston, and recently I had a chance to rewatch the wonderful eulogy that you gave at her memorial service. So what I've wanted to ask you since that time is, what is it about the two of you making that film together? What was it that was part of that time that made such a wonderful friendship bond, not only between you and her family, to deliver such a heartfelt speech?
I didn't originally want to speak. I didn't think I was entitled to speak there. I didn't even actually do any on-camera interviews for the first 6 days when it was all over the news, and people wanted to hear from me, and I didn't really know what to say. It's not my first instinct to go to a microphone. You and I haven't seen each other since a movie a long time ago. I only usually am out there when I make a movie, period. And so there was this steady drumbeat to try to hear something from me, and I just kept, well, no, I shouldn't assume that I have anything to really say about when we did this movie. But I finally got a call from Dionne Warwick, and boy, she was just broken because she was putting together a memorial. There was a lot on her back. And I immediately said, yes, I would go do it. And I was like really mad at myself when I did, because what was I going to say about this relationship? What could I say about this really very special person, talented and vulnerable? And what would I say to a community that saw her as their own, and me standing up there, why would I be there? I accepted it, and then I searched my soul for what that relationship really was. I was her imaginary bodyguard, but I could talk about who she was as a person.
Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you, in watching it all these years later, it brought a lump in my throat, and you gave a sense of really how much and how strongly she touched people. So you chose wisely, sir. Thank you for that. And thank you for this film. This film is amazing. I'm looking forward to the next installments.
Great, it's coming.
All right. Thank you.
You be careful. Someone's gonna take that gun and wrap you with it.
What? We talked enough.